The chandeliers cost more than most people's cars. I know because my father mentioned it 3 times before appetizers arrived, each time louder, each time directed at a different table of colleagues. I should have known it was a trap the moment I saw the seating. My parents flanked Victoria like bodyguards. I sat across from them, isolated. A defendant facing her jury. The white tablecloth between us might as well have been a courtroom floor. Patricia. My father's voice cut through the piano music, through the polite laughter, through every defense I'd constructed over 4 years. We need to discuss your situation. My mother's lips pursed. Victoria examined her manicure, bored already, as if my destruction was just another tedious obligation. I took a sip of water. My hand didn't shake. That surprised me. Your mother and I have been more than patient. 4 years of this nonsense. 4 years of you playing at being, what? An entrepreneur? He said the word like it tasted rotten. You threw away your education. You threw away every opportunity we gave you, and for what? Charles, people are staring. My mother whispered it, but her eyes glittered with satisfaction. This was the performance she'd been waiting for. Let them stare. My daughter is an ungrateful failure, and I'm tired of pretending otherwise. Look at you. You show up here in that bargain dress with your cheap haircut, probably still living in whatever slum you've been hiding in. The dress is Armani, actually. From this season. His jaw tightened. Don't interrupt me. I have told everyone in our circle, that you took a gap year to find yourself. Do you have any idea how humiliating that's been? Mr. Sterling is here tonight. Victoria's future could depend on the connections we make. And you... Daddy, maybe we should... Victoria was smiling. She wanted this. They all did. No. She needs to hear this. He leaned forward, voice drop into that cold, controlled tone that was somehow worse than shouting. You are a disappointment, Patricia. An ugly little college dropout who couldn't hack it in the real world. Your sister is graduating summa cum laude tomorrow. She's everything you were supposed to be. And you? You're nothing. You'll always be nothing. Every eye in the restaurant was on us. On me. The pitiful daughter being publicly eviscerated by her own father. This was the moment they'd orchestrated. The final humiliation. I reached into my purse. What are you... I placed my phone on the table, screen up. My hand was steady as I pressed play. Victoria's voice filled the silence. Yes, I understand the timeline. We proceed with the petition immediately after the graduation. Dad has a psychiatrist who will testify she's unstable. Yes, the intervention 4 years ago establishes the pattern. No, she doesn't deserve Grandma's money anyway. She's a mess. Always has been. My father's face drained of color. My mother's hand flew to her throat. Victoria's eyes went wide with something I'd never seen there before. Fear. The trust unlocks on her 25th birthday, which is in 2 weeks. We can't let her access it. Dad's lawyer said if we can prove she's mentally incompetent. Yes, we've documented everything. The dropout, the estrangement, the refusal to seek help. Someone gasped. We've waited 4 years for this. I'm not letting some college dropout ruin my future just because Grandma got sentimental in her old age. Is that Victoria? I pressed stop. The silence that followed was exquisite. You can't, this is... My father tried to stand, but his legs seemed unsteady. Illegal? Recording someone? Not in this state, actually. Not when there's no reasonable expectation of privacy. But you would know that, wouldn't you? You've had lawyers researching how to steal my inheritance for 4 years. My mother's face had gone white, then blotchy. This is a misunderstanding. We were only trying to help you, Patricia. You were so troubled. Was I? Or was that just the story you needed everyone to believe? Victoria found her voice, shrill with panic. Daddy, make her delete it. She can't. People will think. People will know. They'll know exactly what you are. I picked up my phone and looked around. Every face was shock and fascination. Mr. Sterling looked like he had bitten into something rotten. You little bitch. Do you have any idea what you've done? I will destroy you. I will sue you for slander, for defamation, for telling the truth? Please, try. My lawyers would love that. I turned to walk away. Oh my God. I think that's Patricia Chen. The Patricia Chen. She created Nexus. I didn't look back, but I heard my mother's confused whisper. Nexus? What's Nexus? I kept walking, but I'm getting ahead of myself. You're probably confused. Let me take you back to where this really started. Back to the moment my family threw me away, and the moment I decided to rebuild myself into something they could never ignore, never diminish, never erase. Back to 4 years ago, when they tried to destroy me the first time. I was 21 years old, sitting on a settee we weren't usually allowed to touch, watching my family arrange themselves like prosecutors at a trial. Patricia. My father stood by the fireplace, one hand on the mantel, posing like a concerned patriarch. Your mother and I have been talking. We've discussed this with your sister as well. Victoria perched on the arm of my mother's chair, scrolling through her phone. She looked up just long enough to give me a look I couldn't quite read. We know about the college. We know you stopped going to classes. We know you've been lying to us for weeks. My throat felt tight. I can explain. No, you'll listen. We have made a decision as a family. You clearly need help, Patricia. Professional help. You're not mentally stable enough to make your own decisions right now. The room tilted slightly. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. You dropped out of college in the middle of the semester. You've been holed up in that gross apartment off campus doing God knows what. Mom and Dad found you haven't been eating. Your roommate said you're up all night. You look terrible. Victoria didn't look up from her phone. I've been working on something. I have a project. A business idea. I've been coding. Stop. My father's hand went up. This is exactly what we're talking about. These delusions. This fantasy that you're going to be some kind of... What did you tell your professor? The next Mark Zuckerberg? You're a psychology major, Patricia? You don't know anything about technology. This is clearly a manic episode. Dr. Rothstein agrees. He said the symptoms are all there. The grandiose ideas, the isolation, the neglect of responsibilities. The dropping out was obviously a cry for help. My blood went cold. You talked to a psychiatrist? About me? Without even speaking to me first? You weren't exactly answering our calls. And honestly, Pat, you're kind of proving their point right now. You're being paranoid. We're offering you help. We've arranged for you to see Dr. Rothstein 3 times a week. You'll move back home, where we can monitor your well-being. You'll take a medical leave from school, and you'll abandon this computer nonsense and focus on getting healthy. And if I say no, the silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Then we'll know you're too sick to recognize you need help, and we'll have no choice but to take more serious measures. More serious measures. What does that mean? My father moved closer, standing directly in front of me. It means we'll have you committed, Patricia, for your own good. Dr. Rothstein is prepared to testify that you're a danger to yourself. I couldn't breathe. You can't. That's not. I'm not crazy. I'm not sick. I'm working on something important. Professor Miller said my app could be revolutionary. I just need time. Professor Miller is an adjunct who encourages students' pipe dreams because he couldn't make it in the real world himself. Is that who you're taking advice from now? Instead of your own family? Victoria finally looked up from her phone. For just a moment, I caught something in her expression. Guilt? Regret? It vanished so quickly I might have imagined it. Come on, Pat. Just do what they want. Move back home. Take the therapy. In a year or two, you can go back to school and everything will be fine. I don't have a year or two. I have 6 months of runway on my savings. I have a beta test launching in 2 weeks. I have investors who've expressed interest. Investors? My father's laugh was cruel. You really are delusional. Who would invest in you? Look at yourself, Patricia. You're falling apart. You haven't washed your hair in days. You're wearing clothes that don't fit anymore because you've lost so much weight. You think anyone in their right mind would give you money? I think you need to accept reality. My mother stood up, crossing to where my father stood, a united front. You're not special, Patricia. You're not going to create the next Facebook or Instagram or whatever. You're a troubled young woman who needs help. And we're offering it. But this is your only chance. Accept our help, or we'll have no choice but to make these decisions for you. I looked at Victoria, desperate for any kind of support, any lifeline. She looked away. You have until Monday to decide. Come home, get help, and we'll take care of you. Or keep living in this fantasy world and we'll do what's necessary to protect you from yourself. Look at her. My mother's voice cut through everything. Look at her. Just an ugly little college dropout. The words hung in the air like poison gas. I have homework. Can I go? Victoria stood up. Of course, sweetheart. You have that big exam tomorrow. We're so proud of you. The contrast was deliberate. The message was clear. Victoria was the daughter worth investing in. I was the problem to be managed. I stood on shaking legs. I'm not coming home. I'm not giving up on my project, and I'm not crazy. Then we have nothing more to discuss. You'll be hearing from our lawyer and from Dr. Rothstein. If you're not going to accept help voluntarily, we'll get a court order. You can't. We can. And we will. We're your parents. We have every right to intervene when our child is clearly having a mental breakdown. I looked between them. These people who were supposed to love me, protect me, believe in me. All I saw was judgment and something else, something that looked almost like anticipation. Get out, and don't come back until you're ready to accept reality. I walked to the door on autopilot. Victoria was halfway up the staircase, still on her phone, not even watching as I left. I turned back one more time. I'm going to prove you wrong. All of you. My mother actually smiled. Oh, sweetheart, that's exactly what mentally ill people say. The door closed behind me with a soft click. Then I heard the deadbolt turn. The sound was final. Absolute. I stood on the porch, and I realized I had nowhere to go except back to my tiny apartment and my dying laptop and my app that everyone thought was a delusion. I was 21 years old, and my family had just thrown me away. I didn't cry on that porch. I was too shocked, too hurt, too angry. The tears would come later, in the middle of the night, when I was alone and terrified and wondering if maybe they were right. But standing there, with the door locked behind me, I made myself a promise. I was going to survive this. I was going to build my app. I was going to prove that I wasn't delusional or sick or a failure. And somehow I was going to make them see it. I just didn't know then what I know now. They never threw me out because they thought I was crazy. They threw me out because they knew exactly what I could become. You're probably wondering what any of this has to do with my grandmother's trust fund. You're probably thinking this is just another sad story about a family that didn't believe in their kids' dreams. I thought that too. For about 6 months, I carried that narrative around like a weight. My family didn't understand me. They were traditional, risk-averse, unable to see my vision. Then I found out the truth, and everything recontextualized. It was May, 6 months after they'd thrown me out. I was surviving on ramen and spite, working 16-hour days in my studio apartment that smelled permanently of mildew and old carpet. The letter came via certified mail. I had to walk 15 minutes to sign for it, and I almost didn't bother. But something made me go. Inside was a single-page letter and a copy of my grandmother's will. My grandmother had died when I was 17. At her funeral, my father had mentioned a small trust fund she'd left me for college. $5,000, he'd said. Enough for books and expenses. That was a lie. I stood in that post office under flickering fluorescent lights, reading the words over and over because they couldn't be real. $3 million. My grandmother had left me $3 million in a trust, locked until my 25th birthday. The documentation was clear, notarized, unambiguous. The law firm had been trying to reach me for months, but my parents had apparently told them I was traveling abroad, unreachable, undergoing treatment for mental health issues. My hands started shaking. The letter went on to explain that there had been some inquiries from my parents' lawyers about the trust structure, about clauses regarding mental competency, about what would happen if I were deemed unable to manage my own affairs. And suddenly, everything made sense. The intervention, the psychiatrist, the threats of commitment, the timing of it all. Just as I was turning 21, 4 years before the trust would unlock. They weren't trying to help me. They were trying to steal from me. I called the law firm from a payphone and spoke to a paralegal who confirmed what I'd started to piece together. If my parents could establish a pattern of mental instability, if they could get a court to appoint them as conservators of my future assets, they could control the trust. All of it. $3 million that my grandmother had left specifically to me. Has anyone from your family contacted you recently? No. They kicked me out 6 months ago. Told me not to come back. There was a pause. That's actually fortuitous. For you, I mean. If you'd been under their care, if you'd signed anything they'd asked you to sign, well, let's just say it would be much harder to protect your interests now. They were going to steal my inheritance. Hearing the words out loud made them real. I can't advise you on that, but I can tell you that your grandmother was very specific about her wishes. She wanted you to have this money. She trusted you to use it wisely. I hung up the phone and stood there in the parking lot, and I felt something shift inside me. All this time, I'd thought they'd abandoned me because they didn't believe in me. I'd carried that pain like a brand, had let it fuel my determination but also my self-doubt. But that wasn't it at all. They'd looked at me and seen $3 million they felt entitled to. They'd looked at my potential, my future, my inheritance, and they'd decided it should be theirs. And I, Messy, difficult, unpredictable me was just an obstacle to be removed. The intervention hadn't been about my mental health. It had been about establishing a paper trail. The psychiatrist wasn't there to help me. He was there to document my instability, the offer to come home, to give up my dreams, to let them take care of me. It was all just step one in a plan to declare me incompetent. And Victoria, perfect, successful Victoria, who'd watched them attack me and said nothing, who'd called my apartment gross and my dreams delusions. She knew. She had to have known. Because here's the thing about trust funds. If I didn't claim mine, if I was declared incompetent or, God forbid, if something happened to me, the money would default to my next of kin, my parents, who would, of course, make sure Victoria benefited from every penny. My sister had watched them try to destroy me because my destruction would make her richer. I walked back to my apartment in a daze, but it wasn't fear anymore. It was rage. Pure, crystalline rage that felt almost clarifying. They'd thought I was weak. They'd thought I'd break, come crawling back, sign whatever papers they put in front of me. They'd thought that without their support, their connections, their money, I'd fail. They'd been wrong. In 6 months, I'd built something from nothing. I'd taught myself advanced coding. I'd created an app that solved a real problem. I'd done it all while they were telling doctors I was delusional, while they were laying the groundwork to steal my future. I called the law firm back. I need you to do something for me. I need you to protect that trust, whatever it takes. I don't care what my parents say or what kind of doctors they bring forward. That money stays locked until my birthday. And then it comes to me. Only me. We can do that. But Ms. Chen, you should know, if they've already started building a case for incompetency, they're not going to stop just because you're protected legally. They're going to escalate. Let them. I have 4 years to make them regret ever underestimating me. 4 years is a long time. I looked around my tiny apartment. At the sleeping bag I was using because I couldn't afford a real bed. At the laptop covered in coffee stains and hope. At the whiteboard full of code that everyone thought was the scribbling of a manic episode. 4 years is nothing. 4 years from now, they won't be able to touch me because I won't be the failure they're trying to prove I am. I'll be someone they can't ignore, someone they can't dismiss, someone who has power that has nothing to do with money they didn't earn. I hung up the phone and looked at my reflection. I looked terrible, thin, exhausted, haunted. Everything my mother had said about me, but I wasn't ugly, and I wasn't a failure. I was just someone who hadn't won yet. I turned away and went back to my laptop. 4 years, I told myself. In 4 years, I'd be 25. The trust would unlock, and I'd have built something they could never take away. What I didn't know then was that I wouldn't need the trust money at all. Because I was about to build an empire. The apartment was worse than I'd made it sound to the lawyer. The Roaches weren't just present. They were residents. Senior residents. I was the interloper in their kingdom. But it was mine. And after my family threw me out, after I learned the truth about the trust fund, it became more than just mine. It became my fortress. Those first few months after the betrayal were the hardest. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning, heart racing, convinced I'd heard my father's voice in the hallway. I'd check my email compulsively, expecting legal documents declaring me incompetent. But then I'd open my laptop and look at Nexus, and the panic would recede. Nexus started as a class project, The assignment was to identify a real-world problem and design a technological solution. I'd designed something else entirely. I'd created an app for people who felt invisible. I'd spent my entire life feeling like I was screaming into a void, like nobody actually saw me or heard me or cared what I thought. My parents saw Victoria's successful shadow. My classmates saw a quiet girl who didn't party. Even my friends saw a surface version of me. Nexus was designed to fix that. It was a social platform, but not like the ones that already existed. Instead of broadcasting to everyone, it created intimate networks of genuine connection. The algorithm matched people based on deep compatibility factors, not just interests, but communication styles, emotional needs, vulnerability tolerance. The revolutionary part was the interaction model. Instead of likes and comments and performative engagement, Nexus facilitated real conversations. Deep ones, the kind where you felt actually heard. It's LinkedIn meets therapy meets that best friend you had in third grade who actually listened. This is revolutionary, Patricia. This could change how people connect online. Professor Miller had said that when I'd presented the prototype. My parents had been in the audience that day. I'd begged them to come because I'd wanted them to see what I was capable of. My father had spent the entire presentation on his phone. My mother had left early. Victoria had at least stayed. But afterwards, she'd said, "It's cute, I guess. But like, why would anyone use that when they have Instagram?" I'd stopped trying to explain it to them after that. But now, alone in my fortress, Nexus was all I had. And I poured everything into it. My routine became mechanical, religious. Wake at 6. Instant coffee because that's what I could afford. Code until noon. Ramen for lunch. Code until 6. More ramen or, if I was feeling fancy, ramen with an egg. Code until midnight or later. Sleep, but not well. Repeat. I learned more about software development in those 6 months than I had in 3 years of college. I taught myself advanced JavaScript, React, Node.js. I learned back-end architecture, database management, API design. Every time I hit a wall, I'd find a tutorial, a forum post, a YouTube video. The internet became my university. The loneliness was crushing. My college friends stopped calling after I ghosted them for the 3rd time. My family was a void. No calls, no emails, nothing. But Professor Miller checked in. Every few weeks, I'd get an email. "How's the project going? Remember, you're building something that matters." Those emails kept me alive. By month 9, I had a working beta. It was rough, buggy, held together with digital duct tape and desperate hope. But it worked. I needed beta testers. I posted in forums, on social media, anywhere I could think of. I begged friends of friends. I offered to pay people even though I had no money to actually pay them with. 17 people signed up. 17 people who would change my life. They were the perfect cross-section of lonely humanity. College students in new cities, retirees whose friends had died or moved away, immigrants struggling with cultural isolation, people with social anxiety who wanted connection but couldn't handle traditional social media's performance pressure. And they loved it. The feedback started rolling in within days. This app gets me. I've had more real conversations in a week than I've had in years. Why doesn't something like this already exist? I cried reading those messages. Actual tears, sitting on my mattress on the floor, my laptop screen blurry with salt water. Because they weren't just validating my app, they were validating me. Everything I'd felt, Everything I'd tried to express, everything my family said was delusional, it was real. Other people felt it too. Month 12, I launched the public beta. I'd managed to scrape together $500 for server costs by doing freelance coding work, building websites for small businesses, fixing WordPress problems, anything someone would pay me for. 200 people signed up in the first week. It wasn't viral, it wasn't explosive, but it was growth. Real, organic growth from people who'd found something they needed. That's when Caleb found me. He sent me an email with the subject line, "Your app saved my life," not hyperbole. I almost deleted it as spam, but something made me open it. "Hi, Patricia. You don't know me, but I've been using Nexus for 3 weeks, and I need you to know what it's done for me. I moved to this city 6 months ago for a job. I don't know anyone. I'm working 80-hour weeks, and I was starting to feel like I was disappearing. Like I could die in my apartment and nobody would notice for weeks. Nexus connected me with people who actually understand me. I've made friends, real friends. I'm sleeping better. I'm not waking up with panic attacks anymore. So thank you. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for building this." I wrote back, "That's what I built it for. Thank you for giving it a chance." He responded within minutes, "Can I buy you coffee? I'm a UX designer and I have some ideas for the interface that might help with user retention. No pressure, just thought I could contribute something since you've given me so much." I stared at that email for a long time. Part of me was suspicious. My family had made me paranoid about people's motives. But a bigger part of me was desperate. I'd been alone for so long, and someone wanted to help. We met at a coffee shop. Caleb was 26, tall, with the kind of earnest energy that made you trust him immediately. He bought my coffee without making it weird, pulled out a laptop covered in stickers, and spent 2 hours showing me mock-ups he'd created. They were good, really good. He'd identified user experience problems I'd been too close to see and proposed elegant solutions. "This is incredible. Why are you helping me?" He looked surprised by the question. "Because your app is incredible, and because I know what it's like to build something alone and have nobody believe in it. My last startup failed. My co-founder bailed. Investors pulled out. And I ended up broke and bitter. But if someone had offered to help me back then, no strings attached, maybe things would have been different. I can't pay you. I can barely pay for server space. I don't want money. I want equity. If you're willing to bring me on as co-founder, I'll handle all the UX design, help with the front-end code, and use my network to find beta testers. We split everything 50-50. I should have been more careful. I should have had a lawyer review the terms. But I was 22 years old, alone, and someone was offering to believe in me. We shook hands right there. Caleb became my partner, my friend, and eventually, my anchor. When I told him about my family, I had to, so he'd understand why I couldn't ask them for funding. He got quiet for a long time. Then he said, "We're going to make this so successful that they'll spend the rest of their lives regretting what they did to you." It wasn't just words. He meant it. Together, we rebuilt Nexus from the ground up. Caleb's designs made the interface beautiful without sacrificing depth. His connections brought us to 10,000 users, then 50,000. The app started getting attention. Small blog posts, then bigger tech outlets. I moved to a slightly better apartment, one where I was the only resident, where the bathroom had hot water, where I could actually cook something besides ramen. But I never forgot the Roach apartment. I kept a photo of it on my phone, a reminder of where I'd started, of what I'd survived. Because surviving was its own kind of success. The day Nexus went viral, I was eating cereal for dinner and debugging a server issue that had been haunting me for 3 days. It was month 18. We had 120,000 users, which sounds impressive until you realize that most social platforms need millions to be viable. Caleb and I were surviving on freelance work and hope, both stretched dangerously thin. My phone buzzed with a notification, then another. Then it didn't stop buzzing. Patricia? Are you seeing this? Caleb's voice came through on video chat. Seeing what? I opened Twitter, and my timeline was full of Nexus mentions. Thousands of them, multiplying as I watched. Someone had written an article. Not just someone. Sarah Chen, a prominent tech journalist with 3 million followers. The headline read, Nexus, the antisocial social network that actually understands loneliness. I clicked through with shaking hands. The article was beautiful. She'd used Nexus herself, documented her experience, interviewed our users. She talked about the loneliness epidemic, about how existing platforms made us more isolated while pretending to connect us. And she positioned Nexus as the antidote. This app was built by someone who understands what it means to be invisible. Patricia Chen and her team have created something radical, a space where depth matters more than reach, where authenticity is rewarded, and where connection is real. In a world of influencers and algorithms designed to addict us, Nexus feels revolutionary. The comment section was exploding. People sharing their own experiences with loneliness, tagging friends, demanding to know where to download the app. My laptop dinged, server alert. We were getting too much traffic. Caleb, we're going to crash. Already on it, spinning up more servers. Holy shit, Patricia, we have 10,000 new signups in the last hour. 10,000 became 20,000, 30. By midnight, we'd added 150,000 new users. Our servers were holding, barely. Caleb and I worked through the night, scaling infrastructure, optimizing code, putting out digital fires as fast as they sparked. At 6 a.m, we video called each other just to confirm it was real. We did it. We actually fucking did it. Caleb's hair was sticking up in every direction, and he had that manic look of someone running on adrenaline and caffeine. I couldn't speak. I just nodded, feeling tears prick at my eyes. My phone rang. Unknown number. I considered ignoring it, but something made me answer. Patricia Chen? My name is Rebecca Morrison. I'm a partner at Elevation Ventures. I'd like to talk to you about Nexus. Elevation Ventures, one of the top venture capital firms in the country. They'd funded half the apps on my phone. I'm listening. We've been tracking your growth. Sarah Chen's article accelerated our timeline, but we've had our eye on you for months. I'd like to fly you and your co-founder out for a meeting. We're prepared to make a significant Series A investment. The conversation lasted 10 minutes. When it ended, I had a flight booked and a term sheet promising to be sent that afternoon. I called Caleb back. We have a meeting with Elevation Ventures. Bullshit. Monday, they're flying us out. There was a long silence. Then, your family is going to lose their minds. The thought sent a cold thrill through me. I'd been so focused on survival, on building something that I'd almost forgotten about revenge. But now, with success suddenly tangible, I let myself imagine it. My father's face when he learned what I'd built. my mother's shock, Victoria's jealousy. Good. The term sheet arrived that afternoon. $3 million for 20% equity. It valued our company at $15 million. I read it 3 times, certain I was misunderstanding, but the numbers didn't change. We should get a lawyer before we sign anything. We hired a lawyer who specialized in startup deals. She reviewed the terms, negotiated some clauses, and 3 weeks later, we had $3 million in our bank account. I called my grandmother's lawyer. The trust fund, I don't need it anymore. What do you mean? I mean, I've made my own money. More than what Grandma left me. I'm going to be fine. There was a pause. Your birthday is in 18 months. Are you sure you want to walk away from $3 million? I'm not walking away. I'm just saying I don't need it to survive anymore. But I sure as hell am not letting my family steal it. She laughed. Fair enough. For what it's worth, I think your grandmother would be incredibly proud of you. I hung up and stared at our business bank account balance. $3 million, plus the valuation, plus the user growth that showed no signs of slowing. I'd done it. I'd built something from nothing, with no help from my family, despite their active sabotage. I was 23 years old and a millionaire. The next 6 months were a blur. We hired a team: engineers, designers, customer support specialists. We moved into a real office with walls and conference rooms and a coffee machine that didn't dispense sadness. Nexus exploded. 500,000 users, then 1 million, then 2 million. We started getting acquisition offers. Small companies testing the waters, then bigger ones. Tech giants who saw what we'd built and wanted to own it. I said no to all of them. This was mine. I'd built it from pain and loneliness and spite, and I wasn't ready to sell it to some corporation that would gut it for parts. Then, month 33, the offer came from Meridian. Meridian was one of the largest social media conglomerates in the world. They owned platforms with billions of users, and they wanted Nexus. $80 million, and you both stay on for 2 years to ensure smooth integration. We'll keep the Nexus brand intact, maintain its ethos, and give you resources to scale globally. Caleb and I spent a week debating. We brought in advisors, lawyers, our board members. Everyone had opinions. In the end, it came down to a simple question: what did we want? I thought about the Roach apartment, about the nights I'd cried into my ramen, about my family's faces when they'd thrown me out, so certain I'd fail. If we sell, we'll have money, more money than we ever dreamed of, but we'll lose control. If we don't sell, we keep building, but there's always the risk it falls apart, that we're one-hit wonders who couldn't sustain it. I looked at him. What do you want? He smiled. I want you to get what you deserve. And I think what you deserve is to walk into your sister's graduation party with fuck you money and the knowledge that you built an empire they couldn't destroy. We sold for $95 million. Caleb negotiated up. The acquisition closed 3 months before my 25th birthday. After splits and taxes, I walked away with $38 million. I was 24 years old. I was a successful entrepreneur. I had money that nobody could take from me, that I'd earned with my own hands and mind and determination. And my family still hadn't called. Not once. Not when the Sarah Chen article came out. Not when we announced the Elevation Ventures funding. Not when the acquisition hit the tech news. Radio silence, which meant they thought I was still the failure they'd discarded. The ugly college dropout who'd never amount to anything. I bought a penthouse apartment in a luxury high-rise. I bought a wardrobe that cost more than my first year's rent. I hired a financial advisor, a lawyer, a team to protect my assets and future. And I waited. Because I knew they'd reach out eventually. They had to. My 25th birthday was approaching. The trust fund would unlock, and they'd need me to be present, reachable, manipulable to execute whatever plan they'd spent 4 years constructing. I didn't have to wait long. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday. I was in my home office, reviewing user experience reports when my assistant buzzed me. Ms. Chen, you have a FedEx delivery that requires signature. I should have known immediately. Nobody sent FedEx anymore unless they wanted to make a statement. The envelope was heavy, cream-colored, expensive. My name was written in calligraphy. Inside was an invitation to Victoria's college graduation party. Not the ceremony, the private celebration my parents were hosting. The same home they'd thrown me out of 4 years ago. Mr. and Mrs. Richard Chen request the pleasure of your company in celebrating their daughter Victoria's graduation summa cum laude from... I stopped reading. My hands had gone cold. There was a note tucked inside, my mother's handwriting. Patricia, we know it's been a long time, too long. We've missed you terribly, and we think it's time to put the past behind us. Victoria specifically asked that you be there. She's forgiven you for everything that happened, and we have too. Please come home. We're still your family. Love, Mother. Forgiven me for everything that happened. The rewriting of history was breathtaking in its audacity. I was the one who needed forgiveness. I was the one who'd done something wrong. I should have burned it right there, should have blocked their number and continued with my life. Instead, I put the invitation on my desk and stared at it. Caleb found me like that an hour later. He'd stopped by to discuss the Meridian integration, but he took one look at my face and the invitation and said, "What happened?" I handed him the note. He read it twice. This is a joke, right? After 4 years of silence, they're just inviting you to a party? It's not about the party. My birthday is in 2 weeks. The trust unlocks. Understanding dawned on his face. They need you there. They need to know where you are, that you're... What? Unstable enough to control? Or stable enough that their plan won't work? Either way, they need to assess the situation. So don't go. Ignore them. You don't need closure from these people. He was right. I knew he was right. But something twisted in my chest. Something that felt like unfinished business. I'm thinking about it. Caleb sat down across from me. Patricia, listen to me. You've won. You built something incredible despite them. You're rich. You're successful. You're everything they said you couldn't be. You don't need to prove anything else. I know. But you want to. I met his eyes. Is that bad? He was quiet for a long moment. No. But it's dangerous. These people try to destroy you. If you walk back into their world, you're giving them another chance to hurt you. They can't hurt me anymore. I'm not that scared kid on their porch. I'm not the one who needs them. Then why go? It was a fair question. I didn't have a good answer. Just a feeling that this story needed an ending and I was the only one who could write it. The email came 4 days later. It was from Henderson and Associates, my parents' law firm. The subject line read, Charlotte Chen Trust, action required. I opened it with a sense of inevitability. Dear Ms. Chen, we are reaching out regarding the trust established by your late grandmother, Charlotte Chen. As you may know, The trust is scheduled to release on your 25th birthday. However, there are some administrative matters that require your attention. Specifically, we need you to sign a provisional oversight agreement that allows for proper management of the assets during the transition period. This is standard procedure for trusts of this size. Please respond at your earliest convenience to schedule a signing. Best regards, Martin Henderson, Esq. I forwarded it to my lawyer with a single line. Is this real? She called me within an hour. It's complete bullshit. There's no such thing as a provisional oversight agreement for trust releases. This is a trap. What kind of trap? The kind where you sign something you don't understand, and suddenly your parents are co-managers of your assets. Or worse, you've agreed to undergo psychiatric evaluation. The language is deliberately vague. I felt cold. So they're still trying. They're desperate. Your birthday is in 10 days. If they don't act now, they lose their window. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I thought about the invitation, about my mother's note, about 4 years of silence broken only when they needed something from me. I want to go to the graduation party. Patricia, not alone and not unprepared, but I want to go. My lawyer sighed. Then we need to protect you. First, you're not signing anything they send you. Second, I'm having my team prepare documentation that proves you're of sound mind and legally competent. Third, we're filing a preemptive protection order on the trust. If they try to challenge your access, we'll have everything ready to fight them. How long will that take? We can have it done in a week, which means I can go to the party with legal armor. And if they try anything, we destroy them. There was a pause. You're not just going for closure, are you? No, I'm going to watch them realize they lost. That's cold. They tried to steal from me. They tried to gaslight me. They threw me away like garbage and told themselves I was the problem. Cold is the least they deserve. My lawyer was quiet for a moment. Then, I'll have everything ready by Friday. And Patricia, make sure you're ready too. Revenge can be satisfying, but it can also destroy you if you're not careful. I've been careful for 4 years. I think it's time to be something else. I hung up and looked at the invitation again. Victoria's graduation, my family's triumphant moment, the culmination of 4 years of investing in the daughter who mattered. I picked up my phone and sent a text to the number on the invitation, the one they'd provided for RSVPs. I'll be there, Patricia. The response came immediately, like they'd been waiting. We're so glad. See you Saturday. Mother. I put the phone down and stared out the window of my penthouse. The city spread below me, full of lights and possibilities and people who had no idea that in 9 days I'd be 25. In 9 days, I'd officially claim my grandmother's trust. In 9 days, I'd be untouchable. But in 3 days, I'd walk back into the house that had rejected me and show them exactly what they'd thrown away. Caleb was right, it was dangerous, but some fires are worth the burn. So here's where we're at. I've just received an invitation to my sister's graduation party, the sister who helped my parents try to steal my inheritance. I've also received a fake legal document trying to trick me into signing away my rights to my grandmother's trust fund. And in a few days, I'm going to walk back into the house where they threw me out 4 years ago. You might be wondering, Patricia, what are you thinking? Why would you walk into their trap? Simple. Because it's not their trap anymore. It's mine. I changed outfits 4 times before settling on a dress that screamed, I have money and I didn't get it from you. It was elegant, understated, and cost more than my first 3 months of rent combined. My hair was professionally styled, not the cheap haircut my father had mocked, but something sleek and intentional. My makeup was subtle, but expensive. I looked like success. Quiet, undeniable success. Caleb had offered to come with me. You shouldn't face them alone. Not yet. I need to see how this plays out first. But stay close. I might need backup. He'd understood. He knew me well enough by now to know I needed to do this my way. The house looked exactly the same. Pristine, imposing, every shrub trimmed to within an inch of its life. Cars lined the circular driveway, expensive ones, the kind my parents' friends drove to demonstrate their taste and wealth. I sat in my car, a Tesla, because of course I'd bought a Tesla, and took 3 deep breaths. 4 years ago, I'd stood on that porch with nothing. Now I was returning with everything. The front door opened before I could knock. A woman in catering attire smiled professionally. Welcome. You must be Patricia. Please come in. The house smelled like lilies and money. Classical music played softly. Through the foyer, I could see the back lawn where the party was being held. White tents, tables with gold chairs, a string quartet. They'd spared no expense for Victoria's big day. Patricia? My mother's voice froze me mid-step. I turned. She looked older, but perfectly preserved in that way wealthy women manage. Her dress was designer, her jewelry real, her smile completely fake. Mother. We stared at each other across the marble foyer. I watched her eyes take in my appearance, saw the calculations happening behind her expression. You look, well, better than the last time we saw you. 4 years will do that. Yes, 4 years. She moved closer, and I fought the urge to step back. I'm glad you came. Victoria will be so happy. Will she? My mother's smile tightened. Of course. You're sisters. Blood is blood. I wanted to laugh. Blood is blood, unless that blood comes with a $3 million trust fund. Then blood is negotiable. Let me take you outside. Your father is eager to see you. I bet he was. The party was in full swing. 50, maybe 60 people, all dressed in the uniform of old money trying to look casual. I recognized some faces. My parents' friends, Victoria's college crew, various hangers-on who'd probably attended every society event in the last decade. And there was my father, holding court near the bar. He saw me immediately. I watched his face do something complicated. Surprise, assessment, something that might have been concern. He excused himself and walked over. Every step was calculated, powerful, the walk of a man who'd never been denied anything he wanted. Patricia, you came. I was invited. Yes, your mother thought it was time. He studied me the way you'd study a business competitor. You've done well for yourself, I see. So he knew. Of course he knew. They'd probably been tracking me, monitoring my success, waiting for the right moment to re-engage. I've managed. Nexus, impressive exit. 95 million, wasn't it? You've been keeping tabs. We're your parents. Of course we keep tabs. We're proud of you. We always knew you had potential. The lie was so blatant, so audacious that I almost respected it. Almost. Did you? Because I remember differently. His jaw tightened. You were going through a difficult time. We were trying to help. By threatening to have me committed? Around us, conversations continued, but I could feel people starting to tune in. My mother appeared at my father's elbow, her hand on his arm in warning. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. Why? Are we saying things you don't want your friends to hear? Patricia. Victoria's voice cut through the tension. I turned, and there she was, the golden child, in a white dress that probably cost more than my first car. She looked perfect, as always. Successful, beautiful, everything my parents had wanted. She hugged me before I could stop her. It felt performative, staged for the audience around us. I'm so glad you're here. We have so much to catch up on. I pulled back and studied her face, looking for guilt, for recognition, for anything that acknowledged what they'd tried to do to me. But all I saw was carefully maintained neutrality. Congratulations on graduating. Thank you. And congratulations on your app thing. That's amazing. App thing. As if she didn't know exactly what Nexus was, exactly how much it had sold for, exactly how thoroughly I'd proven them all wrong. Let me introduce you to some people. My father's hand was on my back, steering me toward a cluster of guests. Mr. Sterling, I'd like you to meet my daughter Patricia. Patricia, this is Marcus Sterling, CEO of Helix Technologies. Marcus Sterling was in his 50s, distinguished, with the kind of presence that came from decades of power. He shook my hand firmly. Patricia Chen, I've heard interesting things about you. Have you? Your father's been telling me about your technology venture. Impressive for someone so young. I glanced at my father. He was smiling that proud dad smile, as if he'd supported me the whole way, as if he'd been there for any of it. It was a collaborative effort. Still, 95 million. That's remarkable. We're always looking for innovative talent at Helix. Perhaps we could discuss a consulting arrangement? Your father mentioned you might be looking for new opportunities. And there it was. The real reason they'd invited me. Not reconciliation, not closure. They wanted to use my success to advance Victoria's career, to secure connections with people like Sterling. I'm not looking for opportunities, but thank you. My father's hand tightened on my back. Patricia's being modest. She's very interested in exploring partnerships with established tech firms. Aren't you, darling? The endearment felt like glass in my ears. No, I'm really not. The conversation shifted awkwardly. Sterling made polite excuses and drifted away. I felt my father's anger radiating off him like heat. A word. Now. He didn't wait for agreement, just walked toward the house. My mother gave me a look I couldn't quite decipher. Warning? Pleading? Before following him. I looked at Victoria. She was watching me with an expression I'd never seen on her face before. Something almost like sadness. You should probably go talk to them. Should I? They're trying, Pat, in their way. Their way nearly destroyed me. She flinched. Actually flinched. I know things got complicated, but we're family. Can't we move past it? I wanted to scream. To grab her by her perfect shoulders and shake her until she acknowledged what she'd done, what she'd let them do. But we were surrounded by guests, by witnesses, by people who thought we were just a normal family having a normal reunion. I need some air. I walked away before she could respond. I found myself in the library, the room where I used to hide as a kid when family gatherings got too overwhelming. It smelled the same, leather and old books and furniture polish. And that's when I heard Victoria's voice from the adjacent study. I should have announced myself, should have walked away. But her tone stopped me cold. Yes, I understand the timeline. We proceed with the petition immediately after the graduation. No, she looks stable, but that doesn't matter. Dad has a psychiatrist who will testify she's unstable. Yes. The intervention 4 years ago establishes the pattern. My hand moved to my phone without conscious thought. I opened the recording app and hit record. This was it. This was the smoking gun. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. Victoria's voice continued, cold and clinical, discussing my life like it was a business transaction. Like I was a problem to be solved, an obstacle to be removed. The trust unlocks in 9 days. We can't let her access it. Not after she humiliated Dad with that sterling introduction. She's clearly not capable of mature decision-making. I heard another voice respond, tinny through speakerphone. Male, professional. The lawyer. Ms. Chen, I need to remind you that without concrete evidence of incompetence, the petition is unlikely to succeed. Your sister's business success actually works against our case. That's why we need to create evidence. Tonight, at dinner, Dad's going to provoke her, get her to react emotionally in front of everyone. We'll have witnesses who can testify to her instability. That's ethically questionable. It's necessary. That money was supposed to help our family. Grandma was senile when she made that will. Patricia doesn't deserve it. She dropped out of college, cut us off, built some stupid app because she couldn't handle real responsibility. The trust was meant for someone stable, someone who could use it properly. Nevertheless, just have the paperwork ready. After tonight, after she makes a scene at my graduation party, we'll have everything we need. Dad's psychiatrist is already prepared to review the incident and provide a professional opinion. My chest felt tight. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This was a coordinated attack, planned down to the minute. They were going to provoke me, document my reaction, and use it to steal my inheritance and paint me as unstable. And I was recording every word. What about her business partner, Caleb Reed? He could complicate things. He's nobody, some guy she picked up when she was homeless. He doesn't have the resources to fight us. I almost laughed. Caleb? Nobody. Their blind spots were going to destroy them. Fine, I'll have everything ready. But Ms. Chen, if this goes wrong, it won't. Patricia's emotional. She's always been emotional. All we have to do is push the right buttons and she'll collapse. She'll prove our case for us. There was a pause. Then, and if she doesn't? She will. I know my sister. She's desperate for approval, for validation. When Dad rejects her in front of all these people, she'll break. She always does. The call ended. I heard footsteps moving away from the study, heading deeper into the house. I stood in the library, phone in hand, pulse hammering in my ears. They'd planned this. Tonight was a trap. The invitation, the warm welcome, the whole reconciliation charade, it was all theater. They were going to humiliate me, document my reaction, and use it to steal from me. Part of me wanted to leave immediately, to walk out the front door, get in my car, and never look back. I had the recording. I had proof of their conspiracy. I could hand it to my lawyers and let them handle it. But another part of me, the part that had survived 4 years of poverty and loneliness and doubt, wanted to stay, wanted to see this through, wanted to watch their faces when they realized their trap had failed. I texted Caleb, "I need you here. Now. I'll explain when you arrive." His response was immediate. "Address? I'm in the car." I sent him the address and looked at my phone again, at the recording app still running, capturing silence now. This was it. The moment I'd been unconsciously preparing for since the day they threw me out. I could walk away, or I could walk back out there and let them spring their trap. Except it wouldn't be a trap anymore. because I knew what was coming, and I had a weapon they couldn't see. I saved the recording, backed it up to 3 different cloud services, and sent a copy to my lawyer with the message, "In case anything happens to me tonight." Then I smoothed my dress, checked my reflection in the library's mirror, and walked back out to the party. My mother found me immediately. "There you are. We're about to do the toast. Your father wants everyone gathered." "Of course he does." She gave me a sharp look but said nothing, just guided me toward where the guests were congregating near a raised platform that had been set up for speeches. Victoria was there, glowing in the golden hour light, accepting congratulations and well wishes. She saw me and smiled, and it looked genuine. It looked like a sister's smile. I smiled back. Let her think I suspected nothing. My father climbed onto the platform, a microphone in his hand. The conversations around us quieted. "Thank you all for coming. Today, we celebrate an incredible achievement. My daughter Victoria is graduating summa cum laude from one of the finest universities in the country. We couldn't be prouder." Applause. Victoria ducked her head modestly, playing her part perfectly. Victoria represents everything we hoped for as parents: dedication, intelligence, grace under pressure. She's never taken the easy path, never given up when things got difficult. She's a testament to the power of perseverance and proper values. I felt the shift coming, felt the trap preparing to spring. Family is everything to us, even when it's tested, even when members of our family make questionable choices. There it was, the setup. "My other daughter, Patricia, is here tonight." He gestured to me, and I felt every eye turn my way. "Patricia and I haven't always seen eye to eye. In fact, we've been estranged for 4 years because she chose to throw away her education, her opportunities, everything we offered her." The crowd was uncomfortable now. This wasn't the feel-good toast they'd expected. I'm sharing this because I think it's important to be honest, to acknowledge that sometimes our children disappoint us. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, they choose paths that lead to failure and pain. My mother was watching me carefully. Victoria had gone still. But we're here tonight to celebrate success, real success, the kind that comes from hard work and commitment, not from luck or fleeting ventures. Victoria is that success. And Patricia, he paused, letting the silence stretch. Patricia is our greatest disappointment. The words landed like a slap. Around me, people shifted awkwardly. Mr. Sterling looked deeply uncomfortable. This was it, the provocation. The moment I was supposed to break down, make a scene, give them the ammunition they needed. Instead, I smiled, and I pulled out my phone. "That's an interesting perspective. Would you like to hear another one?" "Patricia, this isn't the time." "No, I think it's exactly the time. See, I've been listening to some very interesting conversations today. Conversations about trusts and incompetence petitions and coordinated efforts to steal from family members." I saw the exact moment my mother understood what was happening. Her face went white. "I have no idea what you're talking about." My father's voice had lost its confidence. "Let me refresh your memory." I pressed play. Victoria's voice filled the garden. "We proceed with the petition immediately after the graduation. Dad has a psychiatrist who will testify she's unstable." Yes, the intervention 4 years ago establishes the pattern. I watched Victoria's face cycle through expressions: confusion, recognition, horror. "Dad's going to provoke her, get her to react emotionally in front of everyone. We'll have witnesses who can testify to her instability. Mr. Sterling's mouth had fallen open. Other guests were looking between me, my family, and each other, trying to process what they were hearing. That money was supposed to help our family. Grandma was senile when she made that will. Patricia doesn't deserve it. My father lunged for my phone. Stop this. Stop this right now. I stepped back, still holding the phone up. Why? Are these not your words? Your plan? Your 4-year conspiracy to steal my inheritance? You're lying. That's edited. It's fake. Victoria's voice shook. Is it? I have the original recording, time-stamped and backed up to multiple servers. I also have documentation of my parents' lawyer sending me fraudulent paperwork trying to get me to sign over control of my trust. And I have 4 years of evidence showing how you've systematically tried to isolate and discredit me. My mother found her voice. You were unstable. We were trying to help you. Help me or help yourselves to $3 million? A woman in the crowd gasped. 3 million? My grandmother's trust. It unlocks on my 25th birthday. In 9 days. My family has spent 4 years trying to declare me mentally incompetent so they could control it. Tonight was supposed to be the final act. Provoke me, document my instability, and use it in court. This is slander. You're making accusations you can't prove. My father looked panicked now. Can't I? I pulled up my email and showed the screen to the nearest guests. Here's the email from your lawyer sent 5 days ago with a fake provisional oversight agreement designed to trick me into signing away my rights. Here's the documentation from 4 years ago when they threatened to have me committed. Here's... Enough, you ungrateful, vindictive little... Patricia? A voice cut through from the back of the crowd. Caleb was walking through the guests, his presence commanding attention. He was dressed in a suit, looking every inch the successful entrepreneur. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was terrible. He reached me and put a hand on my shoulder. A gesture of solidarity and protection. My father looked at him with naked contempt. And who are you? Caleb Reed. I'm Patricia's business partner, co-founder of Nexus. We sold the company for $95 million last year, but I'm guessing you knew that already. The crowd stirred. Mr. Sterling straightened, suddenly very interested. Actually, Mr. Sterling, I was hoping to speak with you this evening. We're in early talks about a new venture, and Patricia mentioned you might be interested in hearing about it. Yes, absolutely. Sterling looked thoroughly confused but intrigued. Unfortunately, after witnessing this display, I'm not sure we want to associate with anyone connected to this family. My lawyers advised me that conspiracy to commit fraud is a serious allegation, as is filing false psychiatric evaluations, as is attempting to steal from a family member through legal manipulation. These are lies. Patricia has always been troubled. She's confused. Is she? Caleb pulled out his own phone. Because I have copies of all the evidence she just mentioned, sent to me an hour ago. And I've already forwarded it to our legal team. If the Chen family proceeds with any action against Patricia, we'll be filing countersuits for fraud, defamation, and emotional distress. We'll also be going to the media with this story. I'm sure they'd love to hear about a wealthy family trying to steal from their own daughter. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Victoria made a sound, a choked sob or a gasp. Pat, please, this is my graduation. Can't we just what? Pretend this didn't happen? Pretend you didn't just plot to steal from me? Pretend the last 4 years were anything other than a calculated attack? We're your family. She whispered it. No. Family doesn't do this. Family doesn't throw you away and then try to rob you. You stopped being my family the day you chose their money over your sister. Tears were running down Victoria's face now, streaking her perfect makeup. Part of me felt satisfaction. Another part, a smaller, more painful part, felt something like grief. My father had recovered some of his composure. You think you've won? You think this changes anything? We'll sue you for defamation. You'll do nothing, because if you do, we'll destroy you. Financially, socially, legally. We have resources you can't imagine. Patricia isn't some scared 21-year-old anymore. She's a multimillionaire with a team of lawyers, a successful track record, and evidence of your crimes. Crimes is a strong word. Conspiracy to commit fraud is a crime. Falsifying psychiatric evaluations is a crime. What you did to me, what you planned to do, those are crimes. And I have every email, every phone call, every piece of documentation to prove it. Mr. Sterling cleared his throat. Richard, perhaps we should discuss our potential partnership at another time. Marcus, wait. But Sterling was already walking away, several other guests following his lead. The party was dissolving around us. People were leaving, whispering to each other, pulling out their phones. By tomorrow, this would be all over their social circles. The Chen family, disgrace. My mother grabbed my arm. Please, Patricia, please. We can work this out. I pulled away from her. You can leave me alone. That's what you can do. You can take your conspiracies and your fake concern and your twisted version of family, and you can stay far away from me. But the trust is mine. It was always mine. Grandma left it to me because she knew you'd do exactly this. She saw who you were, even if it took me 4 years to accept it. I looked at Victoria, still crying on the platform. Summa cum laude, that's impressive. I hope it was worth it. I hope knowing you sold your sister for a trust fund you couldn't even access helps you sleep at night. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I turned to Caleb. Let's go. We walked through the crowd together. People parted for us, staring, whispering. I held my head high, my phone still in my hand, the recording that would ruin my family's reputation saved and backed up and ready to deploy if they tried anything else. As we reached the house, I heard my father's voice one last time. You're making a mistake, Patricia. You're burning bridges you might need someday. I stopped but didn't turn around. The only mistake I made was loving people who were never capable of loving me back. Then we were out the door, in the driveway where both our cars waited. Are you okay? Caleb asked quietly. I thought about it. Thought about the confrontation, the exposure, the looks on their faces when their trap had sprung on them instead of me. I'm better than okay, I'm free. A car door opened behind us. Mr. Sterling emerged, slightly out of breath from hurrying. Ms. Chen? Mr. Reed? Wait, please. We turned. He looked embarrassed but determined. I need to apologize. I had no idea what kind of people Richard and Margaret were. If I had known, that was unconscionable. What they tried to do to you. Thank you. I meant what I said in there. About your new venture. If you're looking for partnerships or investment, Helix would be very interested. I've followed Nexus's trajectory. What you built was innovative, and I'd like to be part of whatever you do next. He handed me a business card. My direct line. Call me when you're ready. And again, I'm deeply sorry you had to endure that. He walked back to his car. Caleb started laughing. quiet at first, then louder. Did that just happen? Did we just turn your family's trap into a business opportunity? I looked at the business card in my hand. Then back at the house where my family's party, Victoria's celebration, was falling apart. Yeah, I think we did. We stood there in the driveway, laughing, while behind us my family's carefully constructed world crumbled to dust. It felt amazing. So that's my story. 4 years ago, my family threw me out, called me an ugly college dropout, told doctors I was delusional, threatened to have me committed, all because they wanted to steal my grandmother's trust fund. They thought I'd break. They thought I'd come crawling back. They thought I'd sign whatever papers they put in front of me and let them control my future. Instead, I built an empire. I survived in a roach-infested apartment on ramen and determination. I taught myself to code. I created an app that connected millions of people who felt invisible, just like I had. I found a partner who believed in me when my own family wouldn't. I sold that company for $95 million. And then, when they finally reached out after 4 years of silence, when they invited me to my sister's graduation party so they could execute the final phase of their plan to declare me incompetent and steal from me, I walked in with a recording device and legal armor. I let them spring their trap, and then I destroyed them with their own words. My parents' lawyer called my lawyer the next day. They were withdrawing everything: the petition, the psychiatric evaluation request, all of it. They knew if they pushed forward, I'd take it public and they'd face criminal charges. The trust unlocked on my 25th birthday. $3 million, clean and clear, untouchable by anyone but me. I used part of it to fund a scholarship at my old university, the Charlotte Chen Scholarship for students pursuing unconventional paths in technology. Professor Miller helped select recipients. The rest I invested in my new company. Caleb and I launched 6 months after the graduation party. Within a year, we doubled our user base from Nexus. Within 2 years, we were valued at $500 million. My family tried to reach out. Christmas cards I didn't open. Birthday messages I deleted. An email from Victoria that I read despite myself. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know what we did was unforgivable. But I want you to know I'm proud of you. And I'm sorry. I'll always be sorry. I didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, stay ashes. And that's okay. 5 years after the graduation party, Forbes put me on their 30 under 30 list. The article detailed my journey: the dropout turned entrepreneur, the family estrangement, the meteoric success. My mother called. I didn't answer. My father sent a letter to my office. I had my assistant return it unopened. Victoria showed up at a tech conference where I was speaking. I saw her in the audience, crying as I talked about overcoming adversity and believing in yourself when no one else does. After my talk, she tried to approach me. Security stopped her. I'd had her name added to a list of people not allowed near me. Was it cruel? Maybe. But I'd learned that some cruelty is just self-protection with teeth. I built my empire. I changed how people connect online. I made billions, not millions, billions. And every dollar was mine, earned by my vision and my work and my refusal to give up when everyone told me I should. And on quiet nights, when I'm alone in my penthouse or my corner office, I sometimes think about my family, about what they're doing, whether they ever really understood what they threw away. But mostly, I don't think about them at all. Because I won. Not just the money, Not just the success, but something more important. I won my life back. I won the right to define my own worth. I won the freedom to build my own family. Caleb, my team, the people who chose to be in my life rather than those obligated by blood. I won the knowledge that I was never the problem. They were. And that truth, more than any amount of money or success, is what finally set me free. My name is Patricia Chen. My family called me an ugly college dropout and threw me away like garbage. They tried to steal from me, gaslight me, destroy me. Instead, I destroyed their hold on me. I built an empire from nothing, and I've never looked back. So here's my question for you. Was my revenge justified, or did I go too far? Let me know in the comments. And if you thought this story was intense, you're going to want to hear what I'm sharing next week about the business partner who tried to steal my second company. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss it. Because trust me, that story, it makes this one look like a warm-up